The Echo Chamber, brought to you by The Holmes Report and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Echo Chamber. I'm Maya Pawinska-Sims, the Holmes Report's editor for EMEA, and I'm here in a rather wintry London today with Adam Mack, the UK Chief Executive of creative consumer agency W. Adam, welcome to the Echo Chamber.
Thanks, Maya. Hi.
So Adam, you joined Warren Johnson at his agency in January this year from Weber Shandwick, where you were the Chief Strategy Officer for EMEA for 6 whole years. You also spent time at Freuds as their Director of Strategy. And I know you've written a rather brilliant blog about being a dad, so multi-talented planner and strategist. W now has more than 100 staff across the UK, Amsterdam and Singapore, so expanding and growing all the time. How's your first year been?
It's been great fun. It's been fast-moving. It's quite... You have to make quite an adaptation to moving from a bigger to a smaller agency. I'm amazed by the quality of the work at W and the projects and the campaigns we've been working on have been. You can't help, even though I can't really claim I can't really claim credit for them. You can't help but be proud of some of the work we're turning out. So that's amazing. I'm really enjoying working with Warren again. We met at Freuds about 15 or so years ago. So it's nice to go
way back.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
What's he like to work with?
Weirdly, we met on Unilever.
Oh, dear.
And we continue to work on Unilever business together a little bit.
Brilliant.
What's he like to work with?
Does he really have someone to peel his own grapes? I mean, he's kind of the rumours abound.
Yeah, I mean, he reclines on his sofa and gets fed fruit by. Yes, he's tough but fair, I would say, Warren to work with, and inspiring. So I enjoy. It's just nice to re-establish the working relationship, actually.
Yeah.
And we're quite a good dynamic, I think, because we're quite different.
Yeah, you balance each other out, don't you?
Yeah, it feels like it's working quite well, that dynamic. So he knows, I know my limitations, he knows his. We're both sort of finding the areas that we can add value to the business in each. So yeah, it's good. It's fun, and it's reinvigorating, I would say.
What's the big differences from like your years at a big networked agency to kind of a smaller independent?
My favourite analogy is that it's like moving from a super tanker to a yacht.
Okay,
explain. And not in the sense that if you make a wrong footing, you're overboard, or you can get whacked by the boom in the back of the head, although some days I finish is a little bit like that. But in the case of just the agility, the speed at which things move, I think the excitement, just because there's less red tape and less bureaucracy is too strong a word to use with a network agency, but just the speed of movement is much more. It's just much faster. So I've really noticed that.
Are you coping with that okay? I mean, you look all right. You don't look too shell-shocked.
Yeah,
but, I think from a planning and strategy background where you're looking very long-term, you're now doing something where you're turning stuff around like super quick within days sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird when you move out. It's a very different kind of role to the one I was doing. Obviously, as a planner, you're giving the indulgence of, days and weeks to think through a problem. Warren's great. So analogy to me is that he thinks in hours and days, and I've coming from a network agency, think in weeks and months.
That's quite a contrast. Which
was definitely the case at the beginning of the year. Yeah. I'm starting to think, if not in case of hours and days, certainly days and weeks, which is progress for a planner. So there's a lot of indulgence that planning and strategy gives to itself in terms of the amount of time that you spend with a problem. You don't often need all that time. You've probably cracked the problem in 50% of the time, and you just spend the next 50% of the time justifying it and padding it out and stuff. So actually, when you discipline yourself to work quicker, you get to the same result much quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I prefer to work to a very short deadline than a long one personally.
Yes,
you just crack on.
I was given 2 days to put up a website a few weeks ago, and I did it.
Wow.
It's not the best. It's not the best website.
Did it need to be the best?
No, it didn't.
Website?
It's just a case of getting it up and getting it out it was for our new sort of enterprise division, getting something up.
Well done.
That sort of showcases what the offer is. So yeah, and then you develop. And that's one of the lessons of agility, actually, is you kind of need to get the minimum viable product out there, and then you can work on it and improve it and enhance it. And it's a bit like living in a house. You should always live in it for a little bit before you refine it and change it.
Yes,
that makes sense.
You need to know where the light's coming from, don't
exactly.
you?
That's a nice, I like that. Yeah.
You
nice
do, though,
analogy.
throughout the day and throughout the seasons, don't you? Tell me about the new enterprise division.
So it's not so new, really. It was launched before I started. It came out of the media and entertainment clients that W had from the day it started. So Warren used to represent the likes of Red Magazine, Business Insider, and so on, and now the team continue to represent the Evening Standard and Shortlist Media Group and so on. So it started with a need to represent the business interests of media. It's grown into startups. So we do a lot of work with the likes of Habito, which is the mortgage app. Very excitedly did some work with Dr. Alex from Love Island recently on that, on their Hello Habito campaign. So Habito, and we worked and won a PR Week award actually for what we did with Sarah, which is I guess the best analogy is Uber for home care. So
cool, that's a good idea.
So that again, that was a kind of campaign we worked on, which was a startup. So we do a lot of, again, because of Warren's entrepreneurial background as network, we do quite a bit of work with startups who are looking for funding or want to scale up and become bigger brands, that we tend to incubate in that division and then cascade into brand as they kind of reach critical mass, I suppose.
That entrepreneurial thing, I can't say that word, entrepreneurial, is actually, when I spent some time with you guys earlier in the year when we were doing our Agency of the Year review meetings, one of the things I was really struck by was that entrepreneurial spirit and all the little side hustles you've got. You've got like investments here, there and everywhere and little specialists. You've even got your own limoncello.
Yes, Boccacello, just in Sainsbury's this week.
Is it really?
In Sainsbury's.
Brilliant.
At the posh gondola end in Sainsbury's. We just got it listed there this week. Yeah.
I'll remember that. How difficult is it to hold on to that mindset as the business grows? I mean, a lot of that is driven by Warren's energy and background and natural drive, I guess. But he's over 100 of you now. How easy is it to feel that fleet of foot and like you can identify opportunities and kind of just run with them? Yeah,
I mean, I think part of it is that whole thinking in hours and days mentality. If you can get people to think in that sort of slightly relentless way, that propagates that culture. I think that making sure that everyone is much more commercially connected to the business is really important. So I would say, of anywhere I've worked, at every level, people are much more conscious of the financial side of the business and what makes the business run, and clients' businesses as well. Because
so it's not just senior leadership teams seeing the numbers; you all know what you're heading for.
The responsibility lies at the senior end, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and obviously, an SAE won't have a massive appreciation for the numbers, but it you're required to understand it quite early on in your sort of progression, I suppose. So,
well, I think one of the other thing that W is known for that people always talk to me about how they see you is it's a business that happens to be a PR agency rather than the PR agency that's had to learn business acumen as it's grown. That's a deliberate strategy that you're on very seriously as a business, and how's that going to evolve as you grow? I mean,
I think that's the way Warren has set up the business and runs the business. He gets a lot of satisfaction out of making money out of PR, and he's said that on various occasions. I think as you get bigger, you attract more and different people, and I think that the reason people come to us is because of the work we're doing and the quality and the nature of the work, and they want to do the best work they possibly can do. I think that there's a recognition when people come on board that they need to deliver great work, but they need to do it in a business in a very commercial way, and they need to understand that it's not just about delivering brilliant work. It's about making sure the business benefits from that. Yeah. So I don't think I answered your question properly, did I, to be honest? But it's about W's business, not just the client's business. Yes. So it was exactly. So that is a deliberate. Yeah. It's a deliberate point. We we are successful because we grow we grow well, and we grow quickly, and we make money on the kind of work we do. So it is a deliberate strategy. I think there's just more that we can do and are starting to do around celebrating the work that we do in other ways. But yes, it's deliberate that we do that. And
you've mentioned agility a couple of times. Now, that whole agile thing is I've heard it used in the business world a lot, obviously. It's a buzzword. I don't hear it much in the context of PR, actually. You're one of the few agencies that actually is comfortable using the term agile to describe themselves. Tell me about what agility means in the context of communications agencies.
I think it's always been in the DNA of PR agencies to respond to the media agenda. So it's being able to jump on a story, turn it into something interesting and get it out there. So I think we have always had and will always have a reactive gene if you're a PR. So I don't think of campaigns that or work that we've done recently. So for example, enterprise team off the back of the House of Fraser news a few months ago. Pretty much within 2 or 3 hours managed to get the CEO of one of our clients, Truva, talking about that campaign on Sky News. I think it was Sky News, might have been BBC. But just the speed at which they sort of learned of that opportunity and turned it into a piece of coverage was quite interesting. So just the speed of it sort of stunned me a bit, even though I've seen it a few times in my career. So I think it's always been something that PR agencies do. I think, weirdly, I've noticed recently that clients invest a lot of money in the big campaign moments that are planned, months in advance, and they invest money in press office, product on page, product placement activity. What's fallen away a little bit, and maybe that's why you're not hearing the agility word so much, is that more sort of planned reactive media agenda.
Planned reactive.
Stuff. Yeah, so you kind of look at the agenda, you look at what's coming up in the next few months, and you look at what possible eventualities might occur, and you sort of you plan slightly for it, but you don't sort of ink in activity. It's that bit in the middle that sometimes that used to be, I think, a proper sort of mainstay of PR that maybe has fallen away a little bit as the big budgets drift into big campaign moments and so on.
So it's that kind of speed and kind of planning ahead as obviously two of the elements. What are the other things that make a campaign or a PR agency agile or not agile? I don't, explain to me more about what the principles are here.
I think you've got to have, it's a mindset. So you've got to just make a leap and get on with it. So I think that there's a
JFDI.
Just fucking do it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think just getting on and as I said earlier in terms of minimum viable product, not trying to be a perfectionist about stuff, especially in this day and age where you can beta test most things, and So I think just getting on and doing stuff is part of it. I think the way in which you bring teams together on projects and try not to have too much structure and process in the way. So in some case, whether that's managing a particular team using dark social so that, you can get rapid sign-off from clients. So the clients on that group, you can get rapid sign-off on
WhatsApp
media
group going on.
Yeah, exactly, all that sort of stuff. So just more light touch ways of managing the process. So I think, and also one of the keys is being able to bring diverse specialisms together as part of a team. So, you might need a particular kind of social specialist on a particular project. You might need, you will definitely need a media relations expert. You might need a data. So it's just being able to bring them together at short notice around a particular project or opportunity.
No, you talked a bit about the whole beta testing thing, right? Because this the element of agility is that you're not going for perfect. You're going for almost good enough, right, to move fast. How are clients with that approach? Are they still kind of precious about not letting anything of themselves out into the world unless it is perfect? Or are they cool with that move fast, break things, tweak it later approach?
There's a spectrum with our clients. So obviously startups are prepared to kind of take risks and be a bit more beta test and do things
that's kind of in their
alongside a
DNA,
pretty
isn't
robust business comms strategy. But the consumer stuff, they're prepared to be a bit more fleet of foot. Actually, and it's unfair to say it's just a small client. So even some of our bigger clients like 3 Mobile and Unilever are increasingly open to reactive work. In fact, they're encouraging it more and more. And pushing us a bit in some cases. So, yeah.
Give me some examples of some really cool stuff you've done with this kind of these principles in mind.
I mean, some older stuff before I started was the Marmite Amnesty campaign that we did, where we sort of came across in the media research that said that Marmite was the most confiscated item at airports. So we rapidly...
I completely missed that. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Confiscated?
It was the most confiscated... At that time, the most confiscated item at
Why?
airports, because people try and take Marmite abroad with them in big pots that are more than 100 mils. And we had I believe we had a brief at the time which was how to was around selling more of their smaller jars.
Okay.
And we connected that with the sort of insight about most confiscated items. We did a partnership with City Airport, and we released this this jar as the solution to, you can take this is the Marmite you can take through airports and stuff. So we kind of provided the solution through the product.
Brilliant.
So that's reactive, and that was quite involved.
Yeah.
So that was quite a fun campaign that delivered pretty good. I think it was I was looking at the case study today. I think it was a 34% sales uplift.
I was going to say you've got to have a sales result there,
because there was no other activity around, so that PR delivered 34% sales uplift, which
nice.
which we unfortunately we can't do with PR enough, and we should be able to prove the value much more efficiently. So that's an example. I mentioned the Truva one of kind of just jumping on. That's more of a corporate comms idea activity. What else? The Marmite one's the ones that springs to mind most. Oh, we did something I think on the hottest day on the tube with Lynx Africa. And it had a bit of a play on words with Africa. It's hotter than Africa on the tube, and we offered. I can't remember exactly what we did, but again, that was a reactive opportunity to get Lynx Africa in.
Brilliant.
In the sort of
gets quite stinky in the summer on the tube.
Exactly, and we thought Africa, hotter than Africa, quite nice. So that again, that was just the team being quite entrepreneurial, really, and just spotting the opportunity and going for it.
Yeah,
exactly. And we don't, we need we all need to do more of that sort of activity, I think, because you can get incredible results from it.
Do you think the agency world needs to embrace agility more than it is at the moment? Or does it depend on what sort of agency you are? I'm trying to think of whether...
I mean, there are certain types of agency who do it really well, and they're really good at just jumping on the media agenda.
Who do you think's good?
Didn't see masses of it at network agencies that I've sort of come across and been at. Freuds were okay at it. W's okay at it. Taylor Herring are very good at it.
They are good at it.
They're good at it. We love Taylor Herring. We've kind of got a little
shout out to
James going on with James. Yeah, so they're So I think there are certain types of agencies who are really good at it. But I think we could probably all get better at it, actually.
Yeah. It's that kind of it's that thinking smarter and faster thing, isn't it? Like joining the dots really quickly, and some people are just better at making those connections than others.
Exactly, and you do need a client who's prepared to be a bit bold. So another campaign we did relatively recently was Carabao is one of our fun clients, actually. We jumped on the opportunity of the Southern Rail timetable chaos and put on a Carabao copter from Brighton to London.
Oh, brilliant.
Which not every client would sign off.
No.
It wasn't ridiculously expensive. We turned it around in about 2.5 weeks from sort of conception to activation. It got some really good pickup. So that's another, that was more anticipating the problems that would be around the timetable problem and getting everything set up in time. So again, that's the planned reactive bit, because you're anticipating that, there's bound to be some media furor around this. Let's play to it.
A lot of some of these examples are like super fun consumer ideas. Can you apply agility to the kind of the more serious end of comms, the corporate, financial, public affairs? Is there room for agility in those areas as well, do you think?
In the very practical vein of what we did with Truva and House of Fraser, so there's some very, it's literally spotting the opportunities and and putting CEOs and spokespeople in front of camera, commenting on them. So that's an obvious way of doing it.
Do CEOs like moving that fast, though? I mean, are they getting better at it? That's quite a lot of pressure to be under.
Again, horses for courses a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the more
personality type,
I think it's fair to say that, again, I think we have worked with some pretty entrepreneurial CEOs who are very open to doing that. So I think it depends very much on the not necessarily the size of the business, and also just new generation CEOs are just much more fast moving.
Yeah, especially in startup, I guess. Like
yeah,
you said
exactly.
earlier.
Yeah, startup they'll.
And what about in terms of your teams? How easy do people at all levels of an agency find it to work together in a kind of a really agile, fast manner? Do some people find it easier than others?
I think we have an agency of people who find it much easier.
Yeah. So if you're a W person, you're kind of agile anyway.
I would say that you wouldn't last too long if you weren't. I think one of the keys to being agile actually just occurs to me as we've been talking is, I mean, this sounds really mundane, but just almost daily or bi-daily catch-ups on something, or just get quick gatherings of the team around a brief or around a media opportunity, and just that just gets the energy going into a team. So I think that and there is that sort of approach and mindset at W, and I think people, it can be very unsettling. You know, you have a meeting in the morning about something, and then you're expected to have progressed it by the afternoon, and that's actually quite it's quite a challenge. What can you do in the kind of 2 hours you've got? So it's that relentlessness, I think, that breeds agility a little bit.
But that's presumably easier because most of you are in the same building and you can physically get together. I imagine it's quite harder. It's harder to do that in that kind of the new wave of more virtual agencies, to kind of get that energy and that constant, quick communication going. Yeah,
I think we don't. I mean, we've got a small growing network. We don't do masses of crossover work with our Singapore office, which is our second largest. We do some interesting combined client work with our Newcastle office, where those two teams work together. There's a tyranny of absence that can get in the way, but actually, again, just regular contact and communication around, what briefs are on the table, what opportunities are out, seems to work pretty well. It's about constant communication, I think, and there's a horrible meeting culture in agencies where you have to sit down for an hour and a half and discuss stuff.
Oh God, it's ghastly.
You don't miss that, do you?
No.
What I found is you can get much more done in a half-hour meeting with the right group of people than you can do in an hour's meeting with everyone.
Well, you can set a timer for 20 minutes and make sure you're all standing up. And there's no tea on the table. It's like, can we just crack on?
Is that an Amazon thing?
I don't know. It's definitely a me thing.
Yeah. Okay. We're sitting down now, right? You're not going to make me stand
this
up
isn't a meeting. This is a chat.
Yeah, fair enough.
I could chat to you for hours. I don't want to be in a meeting with you for hours. It's a different thing. So say I'm a youngish PR ayoungish head. It's like I'm not youngish. Distinctly middle-aged.
Younger than me.
Say I'm running a youngish but growing PR agency. I'm reading and hearing stuff about agility as a kind of a mindset and approach. I'm thinking I want some of that. That's how I want to move forward with this business. What's the first step to being agile, and what's the first thing you could implement or change that would get you kind of heading down that path?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thanks.
I would say getting the client to come along with you in terms of the process and ability to sign stuff off and get them part of that, and put in systems that. Not systems, that's making it sound like it's a real ball ache. Putting
that sounds very
dark
formal.
Social and just getting it set up so that you can work like that with the client.
But you want them on board from the beginning. It's not like this is how we're going to do things and you're going to have to put up with it.
Exactly. And then I think, and then with the client, just making sure that there's a bit of ring fence time for the team to. I mean, the stuff that we do. I think that all agencies, I would imagine that all PR agencies do this, where there's kind of a sort of a news conference type reading the papers bit at the start of the day, just making sure that clients are in mind when that's happening, and that's where the reactive opportunities come from. It's reading. I mean, frankly, it's making sure everyone reads the papers is really, really important.
Yeah, being
I mean
plugged
that in terms of online and offline, because I think, again, I think agencies, maybe that happens less than it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at
you're
Freuds
right.
used to be absolutely mandated, and we've been quite strict about making sure it happens every single day now.
Not just a
and
stack
it's,
of
it's a
papers
proper
on the side.
No, exactly. It's very much a thing that's run by a head of media and our head of enterprise. So that happens now every day. If you don't have that, that's the fuel you need to be agile. And I think, I think that's fallen away quite a bit across the industry. So I would say that we probably need to be doing more of that.
I think you're right. I think we're all in danger on the kind of the media and the comms side there, aren't we? Of being stuck in our little filter bubbles. So, you might read the Guardian headlines in the morning, or glance at BBC Breaking News or CNN or whatever, and flick through like a couple of pages of The Sun and the Mail, but actually being really plugged in to everything that's going on in the media. I mean, there's so much to be plugged into.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. It's that you have to be selective to a certain extent.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's hard
I
to
think
stay
you've got
helpful.
to, it is. I mean, but I think probably just ring fencing time so that people feel they can do that.
Right. So it's not a luxury to
because
be
it's more
sat reading the
valuable,
paper.
frankly, for them to do that than it is for them to write a report summarising the previous week's activity for a client. So
yeah, no, I hadn't thought of it like that. But yes, it's actually critical, isn't it, to know what's going on in the media.
Exactly.
No.
So that's part of it. What other things would I?
Any other kind of top tips or learnings from your nearly 12-month journey through
I'm trying
agility?
to think how I've adapted to it. I just think you need to change your mindset to one that isn't about perfection, but the one that is about just being part of the agenda, rather than just sort of sitting and projecting your own your own message out there. I'm trying to think of other things around getting teams to work together on stuff.
Dark social's an interesting one, though, isn't it? Because that's, there's inherent risks in that as well as advantages.
Yeah, I think they're useful forums for sharing ideas and for bouncing things off. I think, you're right. You need to be a little bit careful about how it's used, but if you've got clients on that group, it's a great. It's just a great forum. You've got the right relationships on the team.
And really good for like sharing gossip as well.
That's
That's not on a work email.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
That's my favourite use of WhatsApp. Okay, so anything else about agility that we haven't covered in the agency world? I mean, is it like a thumbs up from you? Like, this is definitely a good approach.
I think it keeps everyone energetic, dynamic, and involved. I think it's a great way to. I think the other thing is just de-risking it for people. So, people should feel that they can come up with ideas and pitch them in and see them blossom. So it's almost like you need everyone in the agency or the team to buy into this approach, so that they're all kind of spotting opportunities, coming up with ideas. So I think it's a fulfilling environment to be in, where you can come up with a thought at 9 a.m. and by midday it's in the Mail Online. That's that's why people come into PR. They want to see the impact of their ideas, and they want to see what they're doing out there in the media, whether that's online or in print. And I think it's a great culture. If you have that at the middle of your culture, it's a very good thing. And I think you get more done. You don't overinvest in big clunky ideas that aren't necessarily gonna make, which is always a danger. I think the other trick is also, and this is more from a client side, just making sure that all your agencies are joined up and work together on stuff, because there's an immense amount of value that a media agency or an ad agency can bring to a reactive idea if they're prepared and ready to develop.
If they're
content
agile
off the
as
back of
well.
it. Exactly, yeah.
You've all got to be on the same page, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, exactly. So again, the systems and processes that clients have in place to enable all their agencies to work together and the empowerment they give them, I think is really, really important.
Is that getting easier with kind of the growing emphasis on integration and kind of breaking down those disciplinary boundaries?
I think so, yeah. I think clients are definitely integrating better, for sure, if I think back 10 years ago. It happens a lot more, for sure. Is there anything else about agility that I could add?
I think we've covered.
Exhausted that, yeah.
We've covered a lot on agility.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fascinating approach. I think I'd last approximately 10 minutes at W. But there you go. It's really lovely to see you. Another ex-Weber Shandwick mucker. So it's been really nice to hang out. And thank you very much for joining me in the Echo Chamber.
Thanks for having me, Maya. It's been fun.
You've been listening to The Echo Chamber. Brought to you by The Holmes Report and produced by Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.